Hello, everybody. Welcome to the April Pressbooks Product Update. It's technically in May, but this is for the month of April. I pushed it back a week because I was on vacation. I'm excited to share with all of you a bunch of new features and things that we have developed and released, and to talk with you and listen to you about the things that we have planned and upcoming. The first thing I want to show is a couple of small changes we've made to the user dashboards since the last time we talked. And just say, okay, so when you first log in as a network manager, you see this large network manager dashboard. And what we've done is we've adjusted the size and kind of relative position of some of these, what are they called? Illustrations. They were a bit large and kind of attention grabby. And so we've adjusted them to be a bit smaller. So hopefully that seems a bit more modest and less like cognitively demanding. We've done a similar thing here on the regular user dashboard. These illustrative icons are a little bit smaller. And we've also adjusted this graphic icon woman and these icons here on the book dashboards. If you have other feedback for us about these new dashboards and things that you'd like to see or that you notice or would like to be improved, please do let us know, and we will try to make those improvements and want to make that a better experience for all of you. The next big thing that I wanted to show was from this dashboard, we have made a series of changes to this stats page for network managers. And our purpose here was we heard from many of you that it's nice to have these charts and graphs for you to see what's happening on your network, but often you want to be able to tell a story about impact to people who have funded you, or people that are supporting your work, or your boss, or your library dean, or whomever. And it's hard to get this information, these visualizations, out of Pressbooks and into or before the eyes of other decision makers. The other thing that we heard repeatedly was, we have given everybody in each individual book, we've built in this integration with Cocoa Analytics so that at the book level, you have all of this drill down information about page views. But to get it for your whole network, you have to go to every individual book. And that's really tedious and hard. In addition, people told us, well, we want to know impact in terms of visits, but we also want to know impact in terms of file downloads. So we knew that that was a big desire, a big need for people. And so if you come to your network stats page now, there is now a new widget at the top that allows you to set a start and end date and download a CSV that will include page view and download information for every book from your site. So I went ahead and did this in advance, and I'll show you a sample of what the CSV might look like for a given network. You'll see that the spreadsheet will have the title of your book, the URL of the book, and then a link to that Cocoa dashboard I was just showing you. So if you want to drill down and look further, you can just go directly to the dashboard link. And then the other things that you'll see would be the total number of page views, the page views that came as like direct visits, so which means it didn't have a referral, someone just typed in the URL and visit, the total number of page views that had a referral from somewhere else on the web. So you can see this book, for example, there's a lot of the page traffic to this book came from referrals from elsewhere. So it's been linked to somewhere. And then over to the right-hand side, you'll see information about the number of file downloads. So you can see this book is the most downloaded book on the network. And here are the file formats that were most popular for that book. You can get this for every book on your network, and you can also set a date range. So this one is just from all time. We started collecting information at the beginning of 2022. So it's going to have information from the start of 2022 to the present. But you could, for example, say, I only want to see last month. So I could say, let's go from April 1st to the present, and I could download a new CSV. All right, so this is what the statistics look like just for the last month, for example. And I can sort by page views and see, okay, this is the most popular book in the last month. And then I could go in and drill down and look a bit deeper and say, okay, where are the page views happening? Everybody's visiting my appendix. That's where everybody's coming. And nobody's been referring. This is just direct traffic to the book. So that's now available. I hope that helps you provide kind of more insight into what's happening with your network. Hopefully it tells a story about impact. And that is available now at the top of this stats page. I want to pause and take any questions or comments or things that you would like to see as you measure and talk about the story of impact for books on your network. I see a question from Cheryl in the chat, which was, is it possible to see the previous view with percent change? Not from the CSV spreadsheet, Cheryl, but if you were to drill into a book dashboard, then yeah, you can see it for an individual book. probably the easiest way to get what you're after there would be to download 2 time periods. Let's say you were interested in this month and last month. Just set the date range, download the 2 spreadsheets, and then combine them and do your own calculation. But we don't have a built-in way of making that easy. But maybe we could add little buttons that you have like pre-built views like last month, last 3 months. But we might consider some buttons where it just pre-builds the date query for you. What would you like to see?
I'm following up on a question from my co-network administrator who was trying to gather usage statistics, and she noticed that the dashboard had changed, and wondered if that previous view with the total visitors, total page views, and then the change was still available. I wasn't sure whether she meant for all of our, I know it's available still for individual books, but I wasn't sure if she meant for the overall network.
Yes, so it is still available for individual books, and it will be available for your network as well. So if you're a network manager and you come to stats and you look at analytics here, this will show it for your network itself.
Perfect.
And, yeah. So
thank you.
Where did I go to find that? I went to administer network, stats, and then I clicked on analytics. That's where it's been moved to. So sorry if that was confusing, Cheryl.
No, that's great. Thank you.
I want to give a big hand to Alia in particular, who helped request this feature and helped us shape what we ended up building. So nice job, Alia. Way to go.
I have a quick question about that.
Sure.
Sorry. So it looks like it includes all books, whether they're public or not. So I was just wondering if there would be a way to indicate if it's a public book on that stats download sheet. I don't no idea if that's something that can be implemented or not.
That's a great idea. We could. I didn't think about that. I just, in my mind, I was like, well, if the book is private, it probably will have 0 page views, but that's not actually true. Sometimes a private book will still have views. So yeah, that seems totally reasonable. We could add a little flag that just tells you whether the book is public or private, for sure.
Yeah, in most cases, it probably would be as you described. It was just a question since I noticed I had all of them on there.
That makes a ton of sense. So right now, probably what you'd have to do, this is a bit tedious, but you'd have to come into the book list and then download this book list here as a CSV, because that will give you the same information and it will tell you whether it's public or private there. But that's too much cross-referencing probably, Ariana. I think it'd be easier to just put it in the impact sheet. So yeah, great idea. Anybody else have questions or comments or suggestions?
Do you think,
yes, please.
Sorry, Steel. Do you think there would be any plans for being able to manually add a download that could then be incorporated into those stats?
Say more, like a different file format?
Yeah, like different file format, or like we have books that are kind of like more designed that need to be like the PDF needs to be designed separately than the Pressbooks version. So being able to serve that PDF alongside the other content and then also have the stats rolled in together. So I mean, for us, we just have stats in like so many different places.
I know. So Allison, that's a great question. I think probably we should take this conversation offline or out of this meeting a little bit, but the idea would be, I think what I'm hearing you saying, you have a slightly modified download format of the book that you want to make publicly available through Pressbooks. And it'd be nice if you could just download it alongside of our supported formats, A, and B, if they did that, to be able to see how often that format was downloaded. Is that a good summary?
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Yeah, that's pretty interesting. It's possible. There's not a technical reason why we couldn't do it. There's some concerns that we would probably have about letting people put files of their choice and make them available for download, because it's a potentially malicious security risk. Like somebody could be like, oh, I'm going to give you something that looks like a PDF, but it's really a virus or something, you know? So like there'd be probably some security concerns, but if we could work around those, I think that's feasible. Whether we'll do it, I don't know yet, but I'm definitely happy to talk to you more about that.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So the next thing that I wanted to show is on this same page, in addition to the CSV button we've added here, every one of these charts that already exist here now also have download CSV options. So if you want to download your users over time chart as a CSV, you can do that. If you apply the date filters, it will obviously apply that to the CSV values. You can download books over time. You can download network storage, most clone books, and revisions. So let me just quickly grab those and then put them in sheet and show it to you. It'll take me a second to do this. All right, so this is what the total user count will look like. It will give you a month period and will tell you how many users you had at that point, how many subscribers, and how many contributors. So this is helpful if you're trying to tell the story of growth at your network. The book one looks almost exactly the same. I will do the storage one because that one looks a little different. Storage looks like this. It will show you the title, the URL, how much storage it takes up, and what percentage of the total a given book occupies. And then the other one that I wanted to show is the user revisions table. It looks like this. This will tell you who the most active users on your network are. It will give you their username, how many revisions they've made in the last week, how many revisions they've made in the last month, the last 3 months, excuse me, and how many revisions they've made in the last year. So those are all available here now as downloads, and we hope that this gives you more insight into how your network's being used and also helps you to tell a compelling story to your stakeholders or to the people that are supporting your project or that you want to convince to support your project. We're always trying to make this better for you in particular as network managers. So I'll pause there and ask if there's anything else that you wish you had or that you wish you knew or that you wish you could see or share with people about your network. Okay. If you do have things that occur to you later, I think you all know where to find me, but I would love to hear what we can do to give you the information that you want to have to understand activity on your networks. Many of you know that in the book info field, you can add a bunch of metadata about your book. So you've always been able to add things like title, author, editors, etc., publisher, city, ISBN, DOI, cover image, subject, so forth. We added a new field called institutions because we realized there were many consortial networks or people that they were making networks from many different schools and sharing them on the same Pressbooks network. And they wanted better ways to be able to disambiguate in their catalog which school had contributed to which resource, so that you could say, I want to see the catalog of books from the eCampus network that were made by the University of Toronto, for example. Well, we've started by adding all of the institutions of higher education in North America. And then just recently, I added all the institutions from Australia, from New Zealand, for United Kingdom, and from Ireland. And we've started doing some of other parts of Europe and Asia. So for example, I could now pick, let's go to Newcastle. I've got the University of Newcastle in Australia. And let's also do the University of Newcastle in England. And then let's pick Ireland. Who do we know in Ireland? Let's go to Sligo. St. Angela's College, Sligo. So there we've got a school from England, a school from Ireland, a school from Australia, and then New Zealand. Who's in New Zealand? I think I remember this. University of Otago. So I just added 4 new institutions from different parts of the world that are now visible. If you didn't notice that, when you start typing, it will autocomplete and it will show you the kind of geographic indicators above. So let's say I wanted to pick Wellington. I think there's a Wellington. No, there's not. There, maybe I spell it right. There is. Yeah. So you'll see here's the continent or the country, and then the country or the province or state. And then you can select a new institution. When you add the institution, if you haven't seen this before, it will appear in a couple of places. The first place it will appear will be on the book itself. Down in the metadata, you'll see here are the contributing institutions to the book. The other place that's nice for it to appear is in the book catalog itself, or the network catalog itself. Whoops. Let's try the actual catalog. So here you'll see the institutions will all be listed here. And you can see the various institutions that are included. I haven't synced up the list here for the ones that I just added, but it will happen on a regular basis. But I could say, let's filter and look for all of the books that have been published by the University of Guelph. And then you'll see, okay, this book here was contributed to by the University of Guelph. So we've added a bunch of new institutions. If there are institutions that you think should be included in that list that are missing, please tell us. We maintain that list and update it manually. So help us make a better list and make sure the institutions that you need to see reflected are there. Any questions about the institution metadata and how it's used or what it is? All right, on that front, something that's going to be coming soon is we're going to be displaying institutions on the Pressbooks directory soon, and we'll probably add a filter to let people filter by institution as well. That information is currently only visible at the network level and in the network catalog, but we'd like to bring it to the catalog or to the directory soon. On that front, I guess I can also show, we made a couple of bug fixes for the network catalog. So if I go back to the catalog, we had a bug recently that was causing, in some cases, the author field would not display properly on your network catalog. So for example, this is a book where the author field is not displaying correctly. This will be fixed, or has been fixed. A push has been fixed out. If you see that authors aren't displaying, one thing that you may need to do is just simply go into the book, edit the book info, and just save it. Because the book info, the cached information wasn't correct. So you don't actually, I don't think you actually have to make a change, but in this case, I'm going to just remove author 4 and save it. Saving it will store the book information correctly. And then the next time I go back to the catalog and refresh this, you'll see authors field is now appearing and it won't get wiped out. So there was a bug that was happening when we were syncing information centrally. In some cases, the author field was getting just wiped out from the catalog. The bad news or sad news is in some cases you might have to just save or refresh your book info. But the good news is once you do, it will stay and it won't get removed anymore. So we're sorry about that bug and we're glad that it's fixed. If you still notice it or something like it lingering, let us know and we will fix and resolve it. The last thing that I wanted to mention that we've done a ton of work on, actually the second to last, something that we've done a ton of work on in the last month has been improving our results for LMS product. I don't really have anything to share or show here, but if you don't know about results for LMS, what it does is it allows you to connect your Pressbooks network to your learning management system and to send grades back from embedded H5P activities. So you can turn a textbook into basically courseware with formative assessments that will also send a grade value back to the gradebook. And we had a handful of kind of edge case bugs that were causing the reliability of the grade to not be as good as people expected. Pretty serious. We took it really seriously and we released a series of fixes for those. One of the biggest ones that we didn't anticipate was when a student opens an activity in the LMS and then sometimes they'll open a second tab or a second activity, a different one. What was happening was the second session was overriding the first session. So they went back to that first tab and completed the activity. We weren't updating the grade as expected because we considered the second session the most recent one. And it was a common use case for users that we just hadn't anticipated when we built the LTI connection. So we have fixed that, we've repaired it, we've pushed it out into production. If you are using results for LMS, you should see 100% good grade reliability now. If you had had problems in the past and were wondering why some grades weren't showing up exactly as expected, we think we know why and it's now been fixed. But if you have any further questions for us, please do ask and please do report anything that looks strange that students or instructors have experienced. Obviously, when it's something that's a student grade, students notice things and they send lots of emails when it's not right. Instructors notice things and they send lots of emails when it's not right. And it's important for us that we get that right and that it be reliable. So we think we're on the path to full reliability with the bug fixes we just sent out. Just wanted to be full disclosure and totally transparent about that. Does anyone have questions for me about results for LMS or any of the things that I brought up earlier? Well, the last thing I want to talk about is kind of what we're working on next, what's coming soon. The thing that we're right in the middle of doing right now is something that probably won't be as visible to you, but will be really valuable to have for all of us in the long term, the health of the community. I think all of you are aware of the Pressbooks directory. If not, let me just share that with you. It's a free open website, basically, that is a referatory that helps people find and access open access books that have been published with Pressbooks. So the directory currently has over 5,000 books from over 150 networks. We're trying to add to this directory all of the time and to make sure that the books here are actually useful and of good quality. All of these books are free to access. They're public, and most of them have licenses which permit cloning. So if I were to remove the all rights reserved and the no derivatives license, which don't allow cloning, you can see that there's over 4,000 books here that give people cloning permissions. We think this is a valuable public resource and we want to make the directory useful and better for everyone. And behind the scenes, we have a tool that we built that we call the Book Directory Fetcher. And it's a tool that we built and that we maintain. And its job is to go and talk to those 150 networks APIs. And every hour say, hey, do you have any updates for me? And if they do, if a book has been changed or been edited or been made public, it will grab those changes to the metadata and it will store them in a big database that we use for searching and displaying the directory information. The book fetcher tool that we have, we built several years ago, and we know that there's ways to make it better, faster, and more efficient. And so our team is working really hard this sprint behind the scenes to refactor that fetcher so that it's faster, it's more performant, and it's easy for us to maintain. It is currently a good tool. It's reliable. Right now, we haven't had real buggy issues and problems with it, but we know that we can make it better and faster and use some of the tools that our team is really skilled with. And so we're going to be rebuilding the book directory fetcher from the ground up and focus on performance and ease of maintenance going forward. The upshot, I guess, for all of you will be, hopefully you'll see all of the books from your directory that you expect to be there will be there. They'll be updated correctly. The metadata information will be there. We'll be adding things like the institution field, the search and the filtering should all still function the same. And the directory, we hope, will continue to be a useful tool for people to find and clone and adapt books. That's what we're working on right now, the big thing we're working on. I think we'll be making some small adjustments and changes to the CSV downloads, things that people have talked about. We have a couple of ideas even from this call that we'll try to get in for next month. And then some minor changes to Pressbooks and some of the themes will be coming in the near future. That's kind of what we have planned, what's in the works for right now. This summer, one of the things that I think is pretty likely for us is we're going to be doing some new pilots of the results for LMS product with a real focus on understanding more what network managers, what instructors, and what students want to understand about the learning that's taking place. We really want to understand how to make learning more visible to the people involved in the process. One, so that students themselves can adjust what they're doing and how they're spending their time to learn more effectively and meet their goals. Two, to help instructors know, like, as a whole, what is the class doing really well? What is the class struggling with? And what is a particular student doing really well and struggling with? So that they can adjust their instruction or adjust their approach to teaching, both personalized for a single student or for the whole class, or even how they can adjust and improve the materials that they're making if they're openly licensed. Because if you notice that 90% of your class is struggling on an assessment, maybe it means you should adjust the assessment, or maybe you should adjust the content you're providing before the assessment. So that's the kind of the information that we want to understand. We want to enroll a bunch of people to understand how we can make learning more visible. If you are interested in that project, or you know of instructors that would like to participate in that pilot, please do let us know. Please let me know in particular. We're looking to enroll some people to help us answer those questions and understand what is it that instructors and students most want to know about their learning, or that we can make visible to help improve the efficacy, I guess, of the content that people are making and publishing with Pressbooks. I'll pause there and take any questions or comments. Wow, Cheryl, great. You shared a really cool resource in the chat about the impact of H5P on student success. I had not seen that before, and I am not really sure. I'm not familiar with other media studies about the efficacy of H5P. I know a bunch. I've seen a lot of the empirical research about chunking and formative assessment. I think that's kind of the underpinning of what I understand modern instructional design to be, but not specifically about H5P as a medium or modality.
Yeah, I was I've actually found it today when I was looking for Pressbooks evidence that can support student success. And I was trying to think of,
we're pretty aligned then, huh? Interesting.
How can we do this?
Well, Cheryl, then that means I think that we need to talk. I want you to be part of that. Yeah. I'm glad we're on the same wavelength. Okay, so we just had a question from a user, from a network manager, about how to allow people to embed iframes from a particular source. So in this case, I think it's ThingLink. Is that the one that we want to do?
Correct.
Okay, if you can grab that URL, I'll be able to demo it here in a second. But the thing that you need to do as a network manager is, as a network manager, when you come into network options, you're going to see this iframe allow list field here. And these are all of the URLs that you are allowing end users to embed iframes from. So in this case, what I would say is, you know what? I trust ThingLink. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to say, people on my website can embed from thinglink.com, www.thinglink.com. Now that I've saved those changes here, anyone, not just super admins, can take an iframe that has a ThingLink URL. They can embed it in their Pressbooks book, and it will embed without stripping out and turning it back into the embed thing. So that's how you ought to be able to do it. I believe that should work. I haven't worked with ThingLink before, but that principle works for hundreds of other websites across the web. But you as a network manager have to decide that you trust and will allow those iframes to be embedded on your network. Thanks everybody for attending this month. We appreciate all you do for open education and look forward to seeing you soon.